Geriatric Mom. This is episode number 6, second episode with video. I once again have all my dogs in here, so hopefully they'll behave through this. They seem to be sleeping at the moment. Today, I kind of really just wanted to go over supplements and breastfeeding and formula with mommies and daddies. I think breastfeeding can be so hard. And if you're like me, because there's underproducers, there's people that can't produce at all, there's just enoughers, and then there's overproducers. And I just think that those can be so hard. And I've been so obsessed with all of it this entire time that I finally just kind of had to step back and just know that a fed baby is a well baby. And I think that's so important for all moms and dads to know that no matter what your baby is, that they are being taken care of. And the most important thing is that they are fed, right? Um, but for mommies trying to increase their supply, I totally get it. So I'll go over some things with you, some things that worked and it didn't work or didn't really change anything at all. The biggest thing I've noticed, well, first of all, when they tell you you're breastfeeding, oh, the weight will just fall back off. No, I've not had that during my time, and that was really difficult. I just started losing weight, and I'm 4 months postpartum, and I really struggled with that. I finally had to like step back, and as soon as I did, and just kind of gave myself some grace, everything has now I'm finally losing the weight. So the biggest thing though is calories. Calories are huge. I tried to cut my calories way down because that's how we've always lost weight, and that's how we've always stayed thinner previously. And if I would drop below 1600, there my supply would just go like that. So that's a huge thing when you're talking about having production and supplies. And like I said, I think that's an issue for a lot of mommies is just being worried about your weight and losing that weight. And it's hard to give yourself that grace and know, the weight will come off and I'm doing what's right for my baby. That's really difficult to think in the moment when you're not feeling great about yourself. So biggest thing, calories. Some things that I did actually find helpful was putting oat milk in my coffee. So I have a cup of coffee every morning. I've seen no issues with my little regarding it, but I put oat milk in my coffee and then I have oatmeal every morning. And that boosted my supply. I was a really slow producer, so to give some backstory, I pumped in the hospital, like got, a few drops. It took um, about a week before I started getting more than just like little drops. And I've never reached their minimum that they put on that sheet, which is um, I made it over 700 a couple times per day. Um, but other than that, my supply has never been more than that. And that is right around where my little eats. What we do is we take half my supply and we freeze it and then we mix it 50-50 with formula because we had to use donor's milk and formula in the beginning anyway because I wasn't producing enough for him. Um, so I think that's fine. Like I said before, and I was really hard on myself. I was super upset. I had not the best experience with one of my nurses that came in and pretty much made me feel like I was terrible and sucked that I couldn't feed my baby and was like, "Here, fill out this form, for donor's milk because you're not giving your baby what you need." And it was really rude. And then we had another nurse that came in, and she was just talking about with her kids how she had to use donor milk. She was just so much nicer about it, and then it made me feel better utilizing that donor's milk. Um, that we needed it. So that's he did get donor's milk in the beginning and formula. So just a little backstory. Just I've always been a just enougher and under producer. But for the longest time, I was stuck around like 400, and the oat milk and the oatmeal actually did help increase me to like 500 or so. Brewer's yeast was huge for me, which is really hard with the gluten intolerance. Definitely have some rough days sometimes. But it definitely did help my supply by another 100 mLs, I'd say a day, pushed me more into the 600s. Um, so those two things have been huge for me. I also did start taking iron 3 times a week with some vitamin C for absorption, which also helped and has been keeping me right around that 700 mark. Um, or like I said, I don't really go over that, and it's always more like 680, 690, somewhere like around there. But those are the things that worked the best for me. I do know in the beginning too, I did drink that mother's tea my husband got me, and it does have fenugreek in that, and I know that that's kind of a 50-50 thing. It either really works for people or it can tank your supply. I know that took me from more of like the hundreds to the 200s. Like I said, this has been an insanely slow process for me, and then I've just kind of been where I've been this entire time. But I'll go through all the things I tried with you, and I know that they work really well for some people, but I think my body is where it is, and it's really not going to change. So like I said, the oat milk and oatmeal are huge, and a lot of people use the fenugreek. You can use it's in cookies, teas, and then they do make things now like fenugreek free because of those people that it does tank your supply. Um, Liquid IV has been huge for me too. I feel like it just helps keep me hydrated, and if I get dehydrated at all, um, which is kind of impossible because I drink a lot of water every day, but um, staying hydrated is huge for keeping your supply up, and I feel like in reducing clogs because even though my supply is less, I feel like it's full of nutrients. Like the fat content in it is pretty high. You can tell when it separates. It's a good amount is more the fat and the nutrients than it is like the water that you can see separate out and everything. So staying hydrated is key. I love Liquid IV, and I feel like it makes me feel the best. And it definitely helped in the beginning. And then I kind of fell off again, and then now that I'm using it again, I feel really a lot better. Other things that people can try, obviously, I just want to throw this out there because I don't want to get some message from somebody saying, "Oh, you tanked my supply," or "It wasn't helpful," or "That didn't work for me," because these things don't always work for you, and you should always talk to your doctor too to see what they would advise. Black cumin's one, fennel is one, dill, milk thistle, which I still take that, gotru, shatavari, I think is what it's called, alfalfa, anise, moringa. Um, then there's just some other things like omega-3, calcium, are all really good for you. You always want to take a prenatal if you're giving your baby breast milk. Um, Whether you're actually breastfeeding or just giving in a bottle, you always want to take a prenatal so that they get all those vitamins as well. Because formula does have a lot of vitamins in it. There are those things that are like the lactation brownies and cookies. The thing that I've seen with that is sometimes they do have these supplements in them, but mainly for me, that just is a way of getting you to have more calories. So once again, that calories are huge in this process to keeping your supply up. There are a lot of different um, manufacturers that do these supplements. I found it was way cheaper if you just buy them all um, separate. Oh, I forgot sunflower lectin too. That one I still take as well, but I didn't really notice a difference with it. Um, but there are different ones that have these different things in them, and they can get pretty pricey. But if you buy them out separate, they do cost a little bit less. If cost isn't an issue for you, then it's not a problem. There's Pump Princess, Liquid Gold, Cash Cow, Milk Dust. Then there's like the Milky Maiden, and there's like five different ones of those. The things that I've noticed about each of these is that they have like different things that they say that they target. So a lot of those, like I was reading through the different things for each one of these, and pretty much most of these have all the same targets. There's milk flow, there's increased supply, enriching your milk, so trying to give you more nutrients, it says, giving the baby more nutrients, prolactin release, increased breast refill rate, promote breast tissue like the mammary glands and all of that, stimulate letdown, ease colic and gas. So if your baby is colicky or gives them gas at all, these specific ones are supposed to not do that or take that away. Balance hormones is one. Energy, reduce stress. There's support immune system. And some of those are like more focused for the mommies to kind of try to help you as well when you're doing these things. When we're talking about feeding, like I said, the best thing is a fed baby, and I don't see anything wrong with actually breastfeeding, pumping and breastfeeding, exclusively pumping. Um, I think there's so many factors that play into this formula feeding. Like, I don't see anything wrong as long as you're feeding your baby. And I do, after this experience, know how hard it is. I feel like one of the hardest things for me has been pumping, and I was so upset when I couldn't actually breastfeed. My son just did not take to breastfeeding at all. He's tongue-tied. He had, I always forget the name of it. I meant to look it up before I started this. But it's where he has the floppy voice box, so he sounded like a little pterodactyl. He'd always be like, "Ooh," when he was like eating, and it was terrible, like he was choking. That made it hard. I have flat nipples, which I think is important for us to talk about. You know, not everybody has the same breasts, the same nipple types, the same anything. And it just because it's easier for one person or whatever the case may be, um, it's it might be harder for another. It just might not work for someone, and that's okay as long as their baby's fed. But I did have flat nipples. You can have inverted nipples too, which I don't have. And then you can have like normal nipples. Um, and they would always tell me, like the consultant, she was like, it's not about the nipples, it's um, breast, it's breastfeeding, not nipple feeding. But it was almost impossible, and I just felt like such a failure. I tried using the nipple shields and I got him to latch a few times. I tried for 2 months, and he would cry and I would cry, and it was just terrible. So I finally let it go. I just knew it wasn't going to happen, and that was really hard for me because I knew that my son was going to be the only one, and it was just something that, you always hear that that's better for your milk supply, and just bonding and all of that, and I was already having issues like bonding, so I thought if I could do that, that maybe it would help me bond more to the baby too. So no matter what, as long as your baby's fed, you're doing the right things. Some things that are proven when I was doing, always do research just to see, what they say about one versus the other. Formula obviously has like more of the vitamins and stuff. Like you can actually say like that they're getting this, you're getting this much fat, you're getting this amount of nutrients in this. So that is a positive of breastfeeding because you can do all those things. Um, with breast milk, it helps relieve constipation. I've noticed that too. Like if Odin is at all constipated and we just give him pure breast milk, I mean, oh boy, he's going. He's going no matter what. His favorite thing is to poop in the tub, but let's be honest. That's fun. Oh man. Um, but for formula, like I was saying, it has all of the things like it has those specific things in it. The one thing I want to caution people about is, and I'm not always the best about researching things or looking into things and being big on, you know, what's in things sometimes, but for my baby, we did, and we did have to get formula, like I said, and I was like, the doctor just recommended the generic brand of formula, so my husband did go out and get it, and the first thing in it was high fructose corn syrup, which I thought was not good, but we still tried to give it to my son, and he just screamed. He literally screamed for like a couple hours, and I know it can take a while for a baby to transition to formula anyway, but it was terrible. So my husband's a big researcher. He researches everything, and he actually found Bub's goat milk formula. They do have a cow-based one as well. But instantly, when we gave it to my son, he didn't have any gas, any stomach ache, um, didn't cry. He acted like he was full and fed. And, the ingredients are good ingredients and they use like the best things that they can in it. It still has oils and stuff in it, but sometimes you have to use those things to make these things. But definitely was really easy on his system, which I love. So I would recommend looking into that if that's something you're interested in. Goat's milk was something that they used to give babies back in the day, especially when the mothers couldn't produce. So that is a big thing. But if you're wanting to use the cow's milk one too, they do like the more natural grass fed cows and the milk and all of that. So one benefit of breast milk is that it does have like hormones in it, antibodies, growth factors, immunoglobulins, all of those things in it. So obviously there is positives to breast milk as well. So if you can do that, it is um, a positive for your little one if you can. But I totally understand if people can't do it. Um, I almost gave up, after the first like couple like 6 weeks because I wasn't producing hardly anything, and it was so hard to be getting 50 mLs a day after 6 weeks, and you're pumping every 2 hours to try to keep your supply up. Um, and if I missed a pump or something, I was so hard on myself. Like I was such a failure. So I want all new mommies to kind of just know that it's not easy. Um, if someone tells you it's easy, then good for them that that was easy for them and so natural and beautiful. That's great. But not for everyone is this process natural and is it easy. Um, Now I don't pump during the night when I sleep. Um, I only pump if the little one's awake. And then I'll pump every 2 hours when I'm at home. And I just went back to work, so I've been doing every 3 hours, and I haven't noticed a difference in my supply. But if it drops at all, then I'll have to go back to every 2 hours during the day. But I had to stop pumping every 2 hours at night. I was literally going insane, and my husband's like, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" Like, and to be honest with you, it wasn't making a difference. I was getting like 10 ml sometimes, 15, and then I would like be upset that that's what I got. And so once I kind of let those things go too, the more my supply went up, the more I slept, and the better I felt, the more my supply was good as well. So I think knowing your limitations is huge with this and just knowing that your baby is fed. You can try all of these supplements and see if anything helps you. I was one of those people that if I saw the videos of these women with the freezers full of milk and, these pumps that they have, 30 ounces every pump or, like 300 mLs or whatever, I'm like, okay, I do that once a day. And then the rest of my pumps are 100 if I'm lucky. So I think that's really hard to see because you want to be that person that you think the more you supply, the better mom you are. That's how I felt, like that I wasn't giving my baby enough and just once again felt like a failure because of that. They do say multiple factors take into account too, so you have to look at your health history. I do have Hashimoto's, so a thyroid issue, and it is controlled on my medication, but sometimes people say that they need to increase their thyroid medication to be able to get more of a supply. And I haven't done that because mine's kind of like a fine balance where if I drop too low, then you get the heart palpitations and you feel bad. If your number's too high, you feel even worse. And so that one I kind of just let go because so thyroid issues can do that. I had an emergency C-section and was induced, so that can make your supply affect your supply, and your potential earning of supplies, um, ability to produce, like, is a better way to say that. Um, so all of those factors you have to look at where you're at health wise too, because there's so many different things that can affect that. Like I said, I was really hard on myself about my son not being able to latch, but he has multiple things going on, and he had a kidney issue, so we weren't willing to fix his tongue tie at that time. It just wasn't priority to us. When he had so many other things going on and needed surgery, and we didn't want to put him through so many things at one time, injections and shots and you're doing all these things. And so it's something we're going to look to in the future, but at that time, you know, we weren't we weren't willing to do that to him, and I wasn't willing to do that to him just so I could breastfeed. Um, but once again, a happy baby is a fed baby, and that is all that matters for moms and dads. I would just say really make sure you look at the formulas that you're giving them and seeing what's in them, and just doing the best you can to feed your baby. If you need any support in this, I do know how hard it is, and none of this has been very natural for me. So I feel like I'm just finding my groove in all of it. So if you need any support, anyone to talk to, feel free to reach out. And this is for moms and dads, even though my slogan is about the mamas. Always happy to, be support for dads as well. Once again, this is Geriatric Mom, where real moms are sharing the unedited truth, finding joy in the chaos, and reminding each other we're in this together.